They say winning ain't everything. Well, we don't have them type conversations over here, man. Had that conversation with the losers. We trying to win at everything we do. Even in the loss, we don't see defeat. We see a lesson learned. Straight up. Look, I came into this world in 1978. The doc looked me in my face and knew I was something great. 45, 42 Prescott, that's where I'm from. Grew up in the slums around dope dealers and bums. As humble as I was, I adapted to my habitat. In my own lane though, far from where they crashing at. Dumb bar graduate, the game I'd have mastered it. Served in the Navy, look, y'all don't know the half of it. Pops passed in '01, moms passed last year. I know they up in heaven smiling down, crying mad tears, cause they son making it. No telling where I'm taking it. My city been cursed, but I feel that I'm breaking it. Coached at Wayne High in 15 in one state. Seen the fork in the road and went straight. I know what I'm worth, I'm OG King Kirk. Brooklyn Nets gaming crew legend, let's work.
Hey, this is OG King Kurt, your host of the OG2CENTS podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you who continue to tune in every Sunday. We truly appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share it. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Helps us out a lot. Links are in the description for all available streaming platforms. Make sure you continue to stand against any forms of social injustice and racism. And this episode is brought to you by Zenni Blocks. Make sure to armor your eyes with Zenni Blocks virtually clear blue blockers. It's important to protect your eyes from the harmful blue light from your digital screen so you'll have less eye strain, and that makes for better sleep and performance. Check them out at zenni.com/gaming or follow them at Zenni Gaming on Twitter and Instagram. This episode is episode 48, getting to know Pete Cross. Well, he's Pete Cross to us. His mama named him Patrick. He's Patrick Crossan. He's not from the notorious Throwdown Pro-Am team, very iconic. They were in the 2017 Road to All-Stars PS4 champions. I actually remember watching that because I was coaching high school basketball at the time, and we were getting ready to come out, and I was watching it on my phone. So it was a very interesting time back then. Some of the alum from Throwdown is Kyle Rudy. Let's Ball Up is also the head coach, a championship head coach for Knicks Gaming. Moody, who's been a player in the league. Chuck, who's been around still. I've seen lurking and playing Pro-Am again. Insanity, who's also been a player in the league and the coach for Lakers Gaming. Jonah Edwards, known as Daddy Jonah on the Pro-Am scene. He's been a coach in the league for a while now, coach for Mavs GG, and now he's with Magic Gaming. And Dev Goss, who's been a league player on multiple teams. That's a very stout roster. But Patrick as P. Cross, he's the championship team manager and coach for the season 3 champions, Worcester District Gaming. Without further ado, P. Cross, how you doing today?
Kurt, thanks for having me on, man. I'm good. It's just it feels good to hear you say season 3 champs. It still feels like it hasn't hit yet. And I mean, we're about to prepare for season 4, so it's just been a crazy experience the past year. And like you said, just overall throwdown, all the players involved, the coaches. It's really unique that we still get to do this, and we're paid to do this, and we're professionals now. So
Right.
it's a great feeling.
Hey, so surreal. I'm sure. I mean, especially when I get the naming off all the names and just watching it and seeing where everybody's went and where they came from. Talk about Throwdown a little bit before we get into the episode.
Yeah, so Throwdown, we started years ago on a site called Game Battles. They held seasons and they held tournaments and leagues. So it was really unique. I was playing Game Battles before Throwdown was officially created with a couple of people I knew that I played basketball with growing up. And then surprisingly enough, Insanity, Chris, the Lakers coach, him and I went to high school together, and we sat right next to each other in advisory. We had probably 3-4 classes a year together. So we've been good friends for a while. And, we started playing game battles and, competing in NBA 2K tournaments and leagues. And I think the way it is, I think Dev Goss posted something on the message boards, like looking for a team. And he was like, hey, I got one. And so then that's kind of how we all started. And we started talking to each other, started playing with each other. And then, over the years, we started adding people, Moody, Jonah, Rudy, because they were with another team at the time. So it's just unique that 2K can bring people together from all over across the US. Obviously now it's international too. And I had never met those guys except Chris, for years. We were just playing the game till 3, 4 a.m. every night. And then once I finally met them in person, it was just like, I knew them my whole life. So I think gaming's a great experience to bring people together. And, I'm thankful for those connections, and they'll always be my friends for life.
No, that's dope. I mean, kind of, like me and LT and West and Famous and everybody from the 2K community that has evolved. Kind of rewind it back a little bit and tell us your story on how you got to where you are today.
I mean, it's so interesting because esports is so new. I feel like we're on the ground floor. I grew up, I'm sure, similar to a lot of people in the 2K League. I was a big sports fan growing up, played basketball and baseball my whole life. My dad was a coach. My grandfather was a coach. I coached at Athletic Association, Briarcliff Athletic Association when I was growing up. So naturally, I was there all the time. My dad's coaching practice. My grandfather was a president for a couple of years there, and he really did every single job that you could think of. I mean, he would, pick up the trash. He would, do all the yard work with the fields and make sure they were pristine for baseball season, clean the gym. So for him, like, sports were such a big influence on his life. And he passed that down to my father, passed that down to me. And, I remember him taking me to, when he would, mow the baseball field and kind of make sure the dirt was perfect, and he would let me ride the tractor. So from a young age, I had always loved sports growing up, because it was a connection between obviously us, connection between my father. And, I love basketball growing up. I don't think I was ever really good at it. Being 5'8", I was actually a center in middle school, which is kind of funny to say. I think I was 5'8" in 8th grade. So I haven't grown since. But I always loved, playing big and playing center, playing down low. Obviously in high school that changed because, everyone else is growing, taller than me, and I was kind of the short guy. But it still continued basketball. I just absolutely loved the game. Got to watch Allen Iverson play when I was a kid. I mean, that was, you see a guy who's maybe 6 foot on a good day going against 7-footers, and he's literally playing with passion, and he's playing his heart out there and giving it his all. So basketball has been instilled for me from an early age, of just being a passionate game, being a game of teamwork and competitiveness. So that's kind of how I've learned to love basketball. And then I'd say probably more in high school, I picked up video gaming, and NBA 2K was around 2009 was when I really got into 2K. A couple of friends were playing, and they were playing on that Game Battles website I mentioned earlier. And, just absolutely loved the game since it was basketball. And I've been playing it my whole life. So that's kind of how I got involved with the game. And then over the years, took it a little bit more competitively. Like you said, the tournament prize monies were, they started picking up over the years. And then, Take-Two Interactive, the creators of NBA 2K, the publisher, came out with those $250,000 tournaments. And, once you start seeing, that big money involved, it's like this can be an actual thing. So that's kind of a little bit briefly of my story of how I've got involved with sports and video games.
Okay, so and then how what was the process like becoming the team manager and coach for Wizards District Gaming?
Yeah, so I was probably halfway through the player process of trying out for the draft pool in season 1. I applied to a couple of manager, head coaching jobs within the league. The Wizards were the first team to offer me something, and being on the older end of it, which is funny, older for gaming is like 24. But, I felt like I had more say in where I would be able to go. Because as a player, you could get drafted, might have to go to the West Coast, could go Midwest. I'm not sure where I would be, where I would be drafted. So when the Wizards offered me, I talked to my wife at the time, well, fiance at the time, my wife now, and I was just like, hey, we're from Philadelphia, right outside Philadelphia. It's only 2 hours from DC. That's not a bad thing for us to go down there and me to be a part of the Wizards organization. So I pretty much accepted it on the spot.
No, that's nice. That's nice. Now, obviously, like we mentioned, season 3 champions. Talk about life in DC and your journey this past season and winning the NBA 2K League championship.
Yeah. So life in DC, I mean, I love it. I'm like 20 minutes from the arena and our practice facility. So can go in almost every day. I know it changed with COVID a little bit, but I like being close to things, never lived in a city before. So it's a unique experience for me. I kind of lived in the suburbs. And then when I went to college, it was kind of a rural college. So it was just like a college town feel. And then coming to the big city, Washington, DC, one of the biggest cities, in the world, you can say with the power it has, and being 45 minutes, maybe 45-minute walk to the White House. It kind of hits you when you walk around here and you get to see the monuments and you get to see, I can see the Capitol building pretty much from my apartment. So it's such a unique experience. And every city is different in what it offers, but I don't think I could manage in a New York City like you. There's too many people and the streets are too, closed together. But DC, while it does have a lot of people, there's not many buildings. I don't think they allow any buildings taller than the Capitol building. So we don't have skyscrapers here. So it still feels like kind of a homey town feel. But yeah, I mean, I think with season 3 and, bringing the guys back and seeing them, obviously the guys we had previous years, they've loved the city. They've embraced it. They found all the good spots to eat. They've kind of showed the rookies around, as I like to say. But no, I love DC. It's always going to have a place in my home, and it's my home now. I'm calling it my home for the future. So.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we are always anticipating, well, me, I'm at home in New York, anticipating everybody flying in and, seeing each other on the stage and everything like that. Then COVID hits, and of course, it impacts everybody a little different. You know, talk about that a little bit and how you dealt with that with your team.
Yeah, I think we probably have some similarities and some differences in how COVID affected, each and every team. For us, the biggest thing is when it hit, I mean, it was a lot of unknown, what's going to happen? Are we still going to have a season? I actually remember flying out to LA. I think this was January. It was end of January. So it's around the same time as this year. But last year we flew out to January. I met with like some people from Team Liquid. It was myself, Andrew McNeil, a director, and our business manager, Jordan Zelnicker. We flew out to LA, and when we got off the plane, everyone was wearing masks. And we're like,
oh, wow,
what's going on here? It was kind of our first experience. And we weren't sure, were we supposed to be wearing masks or what we were doing? And it was kind of like when COVID was just, getting the tip of the iceberg. It was kind of just seeping into American soil. And, it's crazy to think about from that point, once we got home, a couple months passed. And then, the Utah Jazz incident where, that was kind of really the first shock. It was like, this is real, it's spreading. And I remember telling our guys, like, we're going to have to go home, stay in your apartments. If you have to order food, go to the grocery store. But we didn't have much direction on other than that, if we were going to be playing or not. And there were probably like 2 weeks where we locked them down just to make sure everyone was safe. And, I think they were fuming a little bit because they wanted to practice because we didn't know if we were going to have our season or not. And then I ended up going into the office one day and literally unpacking everything, packing it back up and bringing it to their apartments. So I'm carrying like 6-7 computers, monitors, Xboxes, PlayStations. And luckily enough, our apartment building, Wi-Fi and internet was good enough for them to play there. So that helped us out, and we had 2 players to an apartment. But yeah, a lot of the season was just us being socially distant, being aware that we didn't want to get each other sick. I think a lot of Uber Eats from the guys, or Postmates, or DoorDash, whatever they used. But yeah, it was just crazy. And then for us to just keep winning and winning, and you could tell at times, I'm sure you've probably seen it with your team too, the frustration of the guys staying inside all day. Like that just boils down. And I mean, heck, it even affected me. Like, it gets to the point where you're just staring at the same walls every day, and you're literally like, what's going on? What day is it? Is it Saturday? Is it Tuesday? Um, so it kind of wore at us, but the guys were resilient in their effort to become champions. And, you could kind of see that through our season.
Right. Definitely. I mean, I being trapped in an apartment 24 hours. I mean, I went out every now and then and got some air.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for me, the stores was right around the corner. I had wash and fold laundry that was right around the corner, and they were like opening up on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So that was about it. Or if I really wanted to get some exercise, I'd walk 9 blocks to Target, and that was it. I mean, so it definitely it took a toll on me. I mean, when I feel restricted, that I'm less motivated. When I can move around the way I want, then you get more productivity out of me. Season 3, you draft JBM. You already have one of the top centers in Dave Fry. I want you to talk about the impact that JBM had, and then just coaching and managing JBM and Dave Fry, and what type of players they are.
Yeah, I mean, I like to joke around. Sometimes they coach me, right? It's just
right,
you know how
right.
it is, Kurt. Like
I
sometimes
say
you
that all
learn.
the time. Hey, I say that all the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ryan. We brought back Dave Fry, and we brought back Reese from season 2. We felt like we had a good core there. We lucked out in the draft getting number 1. I think we had like a 7% chance to jump up to number 1, and that can be game changing for a lot of organizations to go through that experience. And we were luckily enough that it happened to us. And then we wanted to bring Jack on board, and to see his confidence grow throughout the season. You can really see it, I think, in the turn tournament when we played the Jazz in the semis, and we were down game 2, and it was the 4th quarter, and it looked like we were ending that tournament and going home early. And he kind of took it upon himself to just say, hey, guys, you get me stops and I'll get us buckets somehow. And we came back, ended up winning, won game 3, and then got to face the Raptors in the championship. And that was a learning experience that we brought to the playoffs with. But, both those guys are highly competitive, and they want to win at all costs. And it's almost like when there's, money on the line, or there's, something else on the line, like they just kind of kick it up into another gear that you may not see in practice every day. I mean, obviously with Ryan, I think you see it every day. Like that guy will compete against anything,
Right.
But still with Jack, when there's something on the line, like he is laser focused, he's ready to go. And I've always felt that 2K is probably very important to have your point guard and center on the same page, and for them to be, some of the best players on the team, just because you can affect so much as the point guard. You're pretty much running the offense, and, the center is a focal point in the defense and helping in rotations and even on offense too. But, to have a veteran guy like Dave Fry, I think was huge for Jack to finally be relaxed and see that, hey, I don't have to do everything myself. When the time comes, I can step up, but I also have, Dave Fry there to make plays, and vice versa. And Dave Fry had to learn, hey, we got Jack. Jack can make plays himself, so it's not always on me. So it's kind of like a symbolic relationship that they had to learn together. But those guys have been pros through and through, and we're excited to get back in season 4 with both of them at the helm.
Yeah, definitely. As if we needed this to happen, over the off season, Jack wins the MVP at a FIBA championships. I want you to talk about the role that you played on the USA national team, and then just your overall, I'm sure, excitement of Jack leading Team USA.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great experience. I mean, FIBA's now involved, Team USA is involved, you get all these other countries involved. So, growing 2K to an international stage is just going to be huge for our league, huge for the players, and couldn't be happier that Jack was selected to Team USA and, ended up absolutely killing it in that tournament. So I was a part of the selection process. It wasn't just me, it was, Black Frank White, it was Jelani from the Jazz, Aerial Powers, and then we had some Team USA people as well to help us out. But we watched probably 2 days of, I'd say 12-hour days, maybe of 2Ks, and we just let the top 30 players duke it out. And we said, hey, whichever ones kind of rise to the top, they'll move on to the top 10, and then from there we'll have to make it to 7. And I didn't know how Jack would play coming into that tournament, that little 2-day kind of event we had. But he absolutely came on fire. Like, I don't think he lost the game the first day. And the second day, I don't think he lost many games either, maybe 1 or 2. So it was really surprising to see him kick up that extra gear like we talked about. Like, there was something on the line, a Team USA spot, and he came and he proved why he was one of the, best point guards in the league, a champion this year. And, couldn't be happier for him. And to represent Team USA 2K basketball, it's just a huge accomplishment in itself. And hopefully we get to the stage where, these countries are meeting together for a tournament, a big tournament where we're playing the, Asia teams, we're playing the European teams, South Africa, South America, North America teams are all going to meet up and play together. So that's what we're hoping, we can get to one day.
Definitely. I was extremely happy to watch everybody rooting on their respective country. Obviously, us being a part of Team USA through the NBA 2K League, and just, I don't know, just watching the game that we love evolve. And I think, like you mentioned, the day that we see everybody meeting up for an Olympic type of event, I think, it's going to be historic, and I believe it's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of things need to happen just to get the world back on track. But I think once we start being able to have events like that, I think it only helps our esport rise to the top. Outside of gaming in your off season, what else has P Cross been doing?
Yeah, I think the off season, I mean, people use it in different ways. I think it's one to relax, refocus. It's a great time to learn new skills. I like to read, which is kind of surprising. So I have all these coaching books, these leadership books, some books, maybe in finance too.
We need them. We need them, Pat.
Yeah, we need all of it because
Right.
I don't have all the information, and I won't have all the information in the world. So, the off season is a perfect time for you to self-improve, I feel like. And that's what I try to do. Maybe we'll have to make a, 2K League book chat or something where we can, go over our favorite ones.
Hey, don't get me started. We'll roll with it.
Hey, I'm cool with it. I just finished Phil Jackson's book. So that was very illuminating in what he does, and he did with the Bulls and the Lakers. 2 teams he coached, and obviously Jordan and Kobe, 2 great players but different attitudes, but the same goals. So it was kind of unique in how he did. So self-improvement is what I think is the most important thing. And, scouting, we're still watching games. Luckily, we only have to draft 2 players this year instead of 4. So it's a little easier.
Right.
I'm sure you know how that is. Like, when you have to draft 4 players, it's like, well, this guy could fall, this guy, and you just don't know. Whereas now it's 2, you can pretty much say, hey, these guys might be available with our first pick, or, even the 3rd round, we have a kind of a list of people we're looking at. But you always want to interview people and kind of see who rises to the top. So doing that as well, and just, taking care of myself, seeing a dietitian for the first time, making sure I'm healthy, COVID safe. Luckily, I haven't tested positive for COVID, so I'm hoping we continue that. And when the vaccine's available, I'm sure I'm at the end of the list. I'll get that as well. But no, the off season I think is just self improvement and you always see the best players, they'll improve in the offseason.
No, I couldn't agree more. I typically usually to unwind. I come back home to Ohio, spend time with my brother, which is we stay in the same apartment building, so that's great. I see my daughter here and there, see my other kids, but like you, just scouting, um, anything that has to do with SGC, weekly team meetings, and the whole nine. And like I say, mainly, but just taking the time to relax. That's the big thing. 6 months
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a long time, but depending on what's going on, it can seem longer. So
Yep.
definitely take time to relax.
The way I look at it is like we're teachers. When we're in the season, we're pretty much on call all day. So the off season is time for us to kind of relax a little bit and spend time with our family. So I joke with my wife because she's a teacher. So like she's in season now where I'm kind of in the off season. So we kind of, switch off. Whereas the summer she's, in the off season, so she can relax a little bit more. But yeah, I'd say we're kind of like teachers in a sense.
What subject does she teach?
She's kindergarten.
Okay.
So you can imagine kindergarten in a COVID world. Exactly. I don't know how she does it, but she's a saint for doing it.
Definitely. One of the reasons why I wanted you to come on the show is because people know you, but they don't know you, and they don't. You're not the most vocal amongst us guys, but definitely I know every time me and you have crossed paths, nothing but great vibes, great conversation. And just always, at least on my end, giving me something to pick up and take back with my, to myself and reevaluate some things and learn. I want, we got the combine coming up. We got, interviews coming up. What advice do you have for the season 4 prospects?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of people are looking for that, especially from our situations. I'm a little low key, I guess. Even on Twitter and stuff, I try not to tweet as much because Twitter will get me in trouble, and I'm not trying to get in trouble. So, I think just with advice to the prospects coming in, well, one, the combine is going to be huge. Show what you can bring to teams. Show that you can be flexible to teams because there might be a time where you have to play another position or play another role the teams need. And realize, I think we talked about this a little the other night, that just pretend that you only have one shot to get in and just go all in on that one shot. This opportunity can't be taken for granted. There have been players in our league who have gotten a shot, maybe one season, and they haven't got back in. And for whatever reason, treat it as, you're going to give it your all. You're going to be the best teammate out there. You're going to be the best player you can. You're going to come to practice every day early, maybe leave later after practice ends. And, you're just going to be one of the hardest working players in the league. That's what we want to see. We want to see people who put in time, not just during practice, but outside the game as well, outside of practice. Our players are very good. Ryan watches film all night. Justin, Just Awkward, watches film with him because they're roommates. Deanie would too, because he's been an elite player of the league for a couple of years now. So it's kind of contagious, especially when you see those leaders, step up and they want to watch film or maybe get some practice in after the official practice hours. But you got one shot, just pretend it's your one shot. You go all in and just see what happens.
No, I agree. And just before we get to the rapid fire, Just Awkward. I like what what you've done with him, what Dave Fry's done with him. When I first met him at the 2K event, he was so shy and so timid, and now to see him busting out of his shell and being confident and speaking and everything like that, I was just so happy for him. He's a great kid. Every time I've talked to him, whether it's been on social media or a meeting in person, because he's not too far when I'm in New York. He's been to all of the events and everything like that, and even came to the studio and different things like that. So I just big shout out to him for I love watching these kids grow and mature in the 2K league, based on where they go and how people gravitate to them and really help him develop. So shout out to Awkward.
I remember interviewing him. What was it, season 2? Yeah, season 2. I was interviewing him, and he was, like you said, a little timid, a little shy, and it really didn't take it took until this year, the past season, for him to grow out of his shell. But he's always been a polite kid. He doesn't curse. If something happens, he'll say "frig." It's so funny. He'll just start saying it during the game, like he'll mess up and be like "frig, frig, frig." But for him, especially on our team, he's kind of opened himself up over the course of the season and became more vocal with the team, more vocal with the players. We did have I wouldn't say it was issues evolving from the team, but there was, I think it was just general COVID stuff going on, us not knowing what was going on, but the players kind of hit this point where it was like, there weren't like groups, and it wasn't really fractured, but it was just like, we were kind of in the dumps, I would say, even though we were winning. And he actually had a meeting with the players, all the teammates, and he brought them together after that. So that was a big moment for him to step up. So like you said, I think being in this position as coaches and leaders, we love it when we see our players grow and we see them evolve, especially over the years. He's one of the guys that evolved for us over the past season and became an integral part of who we were and our identity as a team.
Good. Now coming into season 4, you're gonna have the target on your back, and
Yep.
everybody's gonna be gunning for you, and I'm sure you'll be ready. At this point of the show, this is OG Wants to Know. Rapid fire questions, answers open and honestly as possible. Starting biggest influence.
My grandfather, John.
Okay, what motivates you?
I think I want to be successful, and I want to create an environment where people to come together for the sole purpose of not themselves, but a team or an organization. So they want to play for something more than themselves, and they'll sacrifice that part for the betterment of the team. Okay.
Favorite video game of all time?
I'll say Halo 3, just because in high school I played that a lot, and had some late nights on that.
Yeah, I'm terrible. I've always been terrible at shooting games.
Yeah, I wasn't good. It's just one of those things you love to play.
Favorite sports team?
I hate picking one. How do you just pick one, Kurt? I'll say.
Name them.
Yeah, I'll say Sixers for NBA. I'll say UNC Tar Heels for college basketball. I'm actually a Green Bay Packers fan for NFL, and we'll throw baseball in there. Philadelphia Phillies.
You're all the way around the globe.
I know.
Favorite athlete?
Growing up, Allen Iverson. I would say current, Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Favorite actor and actress, and you don't have to just name one.
Okay. I'd say James Gandolfini from The Sopranos.
Okay.
Tony Soprano. Absolutely love The Sopranos. Great show. It's so hard to pick, Kurt. You throw me on the spot. I'll say James Gandolfini. That's pretty much like the pinnacle. I think he absolutely killed it in The Sopranos, and it's hard not to see him as anything but that character.
Gotcha. Favorite actress?
Actress, I'll go Margot Robbie.
Okay. Celebrity crush?
I'd say also Margot Robbie. Just throw that in there.
Favorite
Don't
movie?
tell my wife.
Oh, definitely won't. Favorite movie of all time?
I'll just go Superbad. I grew up as a kid, and that was kind of my high school party movie that everyone likes to watch. But that's a movie I could literally watch 24/7.
That's a good one. Favorite gaming console?
It's tough, man. I'd say PlayStation 1, just because that was the first console I ever had. So that was kind of my introduction to gaming.
Now, backstory on that, Throwdown was Xbox.
Yes, we were.
And then they switched over to PS4 and ran the table.
Yeah. PS4 was sweet at the time, right? That's what I like to say.
That's why, you know, when you talk about old school,
Yeah.
we don't. Everybody wants to say place. You know, new school wants to say PS. Now we have PS5, but they want to say PlayStation is superior. And our whole argument was an Xbox team went over to PlayStation and took over.
Yeah.
And at that time, so it was no argument. Like Xbox was the dominant.
Yeah. I think at the
console.
time, Xbox 360 was like literally the 2K capital. I would say like most of the competitive players played over there, and it was always like, "Hey, we're better than you at PlayStation," and then you see that happen. It's like, all right, well, they weren't lying.
What would you be doing if you wasn't doing what you're doing now?
So I went to school, college for journalism, public relations. I kind of wanted to, cover the NBA or basketball in general, whether it's college. So I think I'd be a sports reporter. Was doing high school sports reporting before I got this job too, or I would try to work in athletic department at a college in the communications department.
Yeah, I can see that. Tell everyone how they can follow you and what you do.
You can follow me at the pcross11 on Twitter. I don't tweet too much. I think we talked about that, but when I do, feel free to like or share. But for the most part, just follow our guys. Follow Wizards District Gaming at WizardsDG on Twitter. We appreciate all the support, the fans. We got the target on our back, like you said, going into season 4. I know you guys are going to be gunning for us, everyone else too. We'd love to go back to back, but we realize that that's going to be a challenge, and we're happy to accept it.
Definitely. And Pat, I just want to thank you for coming on and doing the show. I truly appreciate it. Got to know some things about you that I didn't know, and hopefully the audience learn more about you as well. Especially the 2K community, I think is vital that they hear multiple stories from multiple individuals to understand that we all come from different backgrounds and different roles to get here, but we here. So just thank you for coming on.
Well, Kurt, thanks for having me, man. It's a blessing, especially what you're doing. Giving a voice to everyone in the community, like you've been doing for years and years before you were getting paid to do this, and now you're getting paid to do it. So it's great to see, all of us collectively grow as the years have gone by. But appreciate you, Kurt.
All right. Hey, you know what? I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up.
Uh-oh.
A part of some people may have heard this. Some people they probably haven't. But the first message that I got from anybody about joining the 2K League when we were still running the NPBA was Kyle Rudy. Now, we had never talked. Of course, we all knew each other, respectively for what we were doing. But, this is, I known him as the player. Mm-hmm. Like, this was before the coach. So he had DM'd me, and he had told me, he said, Kurt, like, are you thinking about getting into the NBA 2K League? I said, I'm going to be honest with you, Kyle. I said, I don't know. I said, we having fun doing what we're doing. I said, if it's meant to be, and then it'll happen. And he don't know. Like I got a chance to tell him because when I first took over in the season, which was our first season in season 2, we met they had their championship dinner, and Nate went over there, so we went over there, and I actually got a chance to tell him that I really appreciated him for reaching out and talking to me, because we had never had a conversation prior to that. And I really admire stuff, and I don't take anything like that for granted. And he kind of helped motivated me. And then after his message, I got a message from Famous, telling me what to do. And then, boom, some things happen, and here I am. So, I always pay respect to those who have helped me along the way, whether it was just, encouraging me to do something that I wasn't thinking about, or actually help paving the way for me to walk down it. So him being a part of the Throwdown Clan, I couldn't miss the opportunity of bringing that up. But once again, Pat, thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate it.
Hey, I want to thank each and every one of you who listen to this episode, or whether you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can find the OG2CENTS podcast on all major streaming platforms. Make sure you follow the OG2CENTS podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Follow myself at OG King Kurt on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also visit www.ogkingcurt.com for everything OG King Kurt and the podcast. Also, you see this hoodie I have on. This is from GameHER, owner, founder, Jess Davis. Make sure you visit her website, www.gamer.com. Learn more about what she does, and she definitely has some nice merchandise that you may want to purchase. So make sure you visit her site. Shout out to my team, Strider Visuals, Box Graphics, and Cy Evermore for everything that they do to make this show possible. You can catch me on EsportsXTRA every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m., where we talk esports and traditional sports. That's what host Larry Ridley, the crew, Kelly Wells Brinkley, Antonio Williams, Derwin Roel, Kevin Mamuzet, twitch.tv/compete forever. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you catch next week's episode. And remember, if it makes sense, it's an OG2CENTS. OG out.
Put this work in, fellas. And much, much, much love to the entire 2K community for always showing me love. Without y'all, we wouldn't be here. Yeah.